Welcome everybody to it's actually yeah, we're going to talk about scams today, and there's a whole lot to be discussed, but I'm just pulling something up here. I'm going to do a little more reading than I sometimes do because I want to check a few boxes, but this is one of my favorite topics to talk about because and it was something I was going to talk about anyway. In fact, we had somebody here that wanted to talk about it, but he didn't show up. I won't wag fingers at our friend here. But anyway, I said last month, all right, we're going to talk about scams, but I heard such an interesting and fun scam and how that showed up for a client that I was mentoring recently that I just had to, oh my gosh, I can't wait to include this into our lesson today. But so what are scams? Well, scams is just those things that we say to ourselves or our clients say to themselves that sidetrack them from living out the best version of themselves, that um, impels them to uh, lose the internal motivation to do that which they said was most important. Okay. And so, whether you call it a scam, a saboteur, gremlin, demons, Satan, I don't think Satan is omnipresent. So, demon seems to make more sense and work for me too. But anyway, that's what we're talking about. So, I just want you to consider a few things, and then we're going to, we'll dive into the fun. So, how's it show up? I mean, the most important thing is recognizing, right? Recognizing that we're actually talking to the scammer, to saboteurs, or to demons right now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free to fire stuff in as you want, and I'll include it as I think we can. But how's it show up? That's what we've got to pay attention to, because if we don't notice it, then we're being run by this as well. And it's sort of our fears or our ignorance is being run around by their fear or ignorance. Uh-oh, now we're in trouble. So how's it show up? It shows up in their energy. You can feel a difference in their energy, right? And I'm a big fan of, I'm going to say this, I say this over and over again. There's three things we do as coaches. We get a clear agenda. What specifically do they want with their time? We connect clients to themselves, their vision, their values, I will say their personal standards, their visions, their virtues, and their, a useful perspective on things that help connect them to themselves. There's more, we'll leave it there. Um, and then to look back, glance back over the question, the problem they started with, that agenda. But what happens is their energy starts leaving that which connects them to themselves, or which is evidence of them being connected to themselves. So we're looking out for energy. We're also looking for their attitude or their tone. That can begin to shift, right? Which we could argue quickly is, just, it's a subset of energy. That's fine. And then their action or inaction, they didn't do a thing, or they did a thing that they said they wouldn't. Uh-oh. Then we've got a choice to make. Are we going to bypass, right? Are we going to bypass this scam, the scammer, this voice, this demons, or, oops, okay, we got somebody joining. I'm going to bring them in here. Or are we going to, and I'm just going to say, welcome, Susan. Just in the middle of talking about what do we do? So we first got to recognize that the scammers show up, and then what are we going to do? We're going to choose to bypass it and just overwhelm it with going to the vision, going to their virtues, and then going to their another perspective and connecting them to themselves. Or are we going to engage the scam? Today we're gonna bypass bypassing, and we're going to talk about engaging it, and helping them see what they're choosing in a more sober environment. Look at, you're choosing this, and here's going to be the result if you go down this road. So, as forensic investigators, I love that language, forensic investigators into the anatomy of how our clients compromise their best selves, in an attempt to get what they want, right? What their passions want in a given moment. Our job is to notice how we, as well, scam ourselves. So how do our scams show up, right? How do they manifest? And Susan, I was just saying that I was mentoring someone recently, and I heard like one of the penultimate scams show up, and I just thought it was the funniest thing. I can't wait to tell you guys. But And Len already wrote in the text or the chat there that, they can lie to themselves. Great. So you can notice, hey, you said this, but now you're doing this. You said this was important to you, or wait, we both know this is not what happened, Ron, or Sally. What is this? So, anyway, so how do scams show up? Well, it shows up under the guise of virtue, or the mask of virtue. Well, I decided not to do this because I didn't want to wake my children. And so, right, so that can show up. I like your smile, Susan. You know that one. Oh, I decided not to do the push-ups because, I wanted to start slow. So I decided just to kind of limber up in the morning or whatever. It's like, okay. So there's a million ways in which we scam ourselves, lie to ourselves, make it actually look like we chose more elevated path. Um, there's 1,000 of them. I decided to start on Monday. It's like, okay. So there's that. Wielding the sword of reason. Well, here's what I did. I figured that if I start Monday, that will allow me time to do this and that. And I got online and I looked and I found out that if I got this stretchy thing that I could be ready for, it's like all of a sudden, so then we start using our reason to make this, it sound like we really made a very mature decision to do nothing all week, but keep the status quo going. And that's how our scammers like it. So that's a fun one. I wrote down behind the skirt of deserves. We got the masculine, right? The reason, using the left brain to reason things out, and that's a great way our clients will kind of push us back. Actually, I want to say a word about that too. Is our clients have an incredible way that they can um, put you on your heels. And if you've never had that happen, buckle up. They can almost make it seem like you're getting in the way, or you're a little over the top, or you're a little overzealous right now, Susan. So no, I just chose this because of whatever. It's like, all right, now we have to like untangle the bull crap that they pulled, and then how it's manifesting with us, and then remind them of what they said they were committed to. Meanwhile, you're talking to their saboteur, or their scammer. So anyway, we had the masculine sort of reason. Now we've got, like I said, behind the skirt of deserves. I deserve to feel good. I deserve to be happy, to try something new. I wrote in my book something about, um, you make this agreement with yourself. If I'm not eating dessert, no dessert tonight, you're getting ready to go to a party, gonna not eat dessert. I'm just going to do this and that. Oh, Belgian chocolate cake? I never had Belgian chocolate cake. All right, I'll have one little piece. It's like, well, wait, so see, the chocolate came from Belgium, and so now all of a sudden you're having dessert despite what you said was so important. Yeah, that's that's appeal to the emotion, which is, the feminine side of us. No, that can't work. No more than the reason does. All right, acting offended. And Lynn, I told you that this was a rough time in my life, and now you're no, I can't do this. And most coaches kind of backpedal and like, oh no, I got Ron mad at me. I want him to be happy with me. The client's not going to be happy with you sometimes. By the way, that's as good evidence about some things you might want to put in your initial or discovery or foundation session. What are we going to do when this happens? Because there's a likelihood you won't always be happy with me. How are you when people call you on your junk? Because I'm probably going to. And you'd be honest, like, hey, the truth is, I'm a nice guy. I want to be liked, but my job is to, do what serves you rather than, what you always like in a given moment. Because sometimes what's going to show up is not your best self. How do you want me to be with you when that happens? These are good questions to address in sobriety so you can bring them back. Hey, you said that you would, likely bring up one of the things that I have one of the questions I have in my initial session is, how do you undermine relationships? Lots of good stuff in there. How might that show up in our work? And then, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months later, it's like, I'm too busy to work on my marriage, or, I'm too busy to, it's like, dude, you said this was going to happen. Like, here we are. It starts getting hot in the kitchen, and all of a sudden you don't have time to do this. Yeah, you're right. And every time I've been able to pull that out, it's just such a good thing. So consider putting those in your discovery or something like that. Acting offended. Uh, or taking the offense, the offensive, right? So it's probably maybe a subset of acting offended. So I had someone the other day, Ron, I have a client. What am I supposed to do with this? She accused me of toxic positivity. Ah, and actually, I'm doing this writing for the parents of young men. You know how every masculine virtue these days is called toxic masculinity, leaving our boys with nothing to do but shrivel into a ball and become what society certainly doesn't need. But I love the idea of toxic positivity. And I've only known this person for an hour. It was our first conversation. We'll have several others, but at least this was our first. She didn't seem toxically positive, but she was, an upbeat coach person who was, saying, yeah, but, and you can do, and I ended up telling her, do you know what this is? In fact, I actually want to pull you guys in, pop off mute as you'd like. What do you think that is when a client does that? Might accuse you of toxic positivity. And the positivity is being like, what you and I might just easily just call a reframe. Hey, Ron, look, yeah, you lost your job, but you can now finally work on what you want. Gives you all the space you need. Yeah, I get money might be tight, but this also lights the fire under your rear end to do X, Y, Z. So it wasn't quite that situation, but toxic positivity. What do you think? What do you think that that's about for clients? As it would be for us if we whipped something like that out.
It's like not genuine kind of thing. It's like
Say that again.
it's not really genuine. It's like you just over like saying it, but like there's no meaning to it. Like I don't know how to
It's a
express
good.
it, but I feel like that's what comes out for me.
That's great. That's great. It's a good start. Let's hear others too, because yeah, there's something not genuine, not true, of course, in that. Yeah. Yeah.
As a coach, I might reflect back to see if I'm problem solving for them. So if you said I lost my job and I was like, great, now your days are free. Like that may be my thing that I'm placing on yours. So like what opens up now that you don't have this job? What opens up for you? It might be more of a question than like, yay, you lost your job. I wish I lost my job. Like I might be like putting that on you when really this is a trigger and a trauma. Like, well, what opens up with the possibility instead of me putting the positive spin? I,
Maybe,
I
maybe
know
it comes.
I know I do that in my life, so I'm super conscious of it in my coaching because there's a thing called um, like when you think everything is positive, like um, there's a book. I'll show it to you, and it's like, oh, so if you think everyone's out to get you, it's called paranoid, and if you think everyone's out to help you, it's called pronoia.
Really?
And so I've read this book cover to cover, Pronoia, and I realize it's me, it's my grandmother, it's a lot of people. Um, Pronoia.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
And it's when you think everyone is out to help you. And it's actually a real thing. My child dumped a cart in the grocery store, and I just started telling everyone in the aisle, pick that up, help me. I have a small child. Like, I believe that everyone who is in that aisle is there to help me.
Okay. So this is good, a good distinction. I want to push back because I want you to hear. There's a few things that I think I'm here to do as a coach mentor in this world.
Yeah.
And one of them is to free people up to realize you're not neutral. You can't ever be neutral. None of
Yeah.
us can be. I am what I am, my demographics, my experience, my whatever they are. And that's good. And it's wrong to say it's even okay. It's more than okay. It's good. I should really learn to be fully comfortable with myself and to not be satisfied with what I am, but work to become more. And that's our work as coaches to help those people who are proactively choosing that. Cool. So in that, Susan, I wouldn't even say there's a heck of a distinction between, hey, great, now you got an opportunity to, blah blah blah, and what's the opportunity here, Ron? Because either way, it's coming from your perspective that this isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So I want to give you the gift, if it is a gift, Susan, is like it as a coach, if it's your choice in a given moment to not let Ron go down, that'd be put more in the second the subset of like bypassing it. We're going to take Ron to his vision, his values, whatever, or a reframe. It's like, okay, what is possible here? Take it. It's a choice, because the worst case scenario, if I'm like, I'm just not there yet, it's like, okay, then you can deal with what's here.
Yeah.
And that's distinct from it's a scam. It's like Ron's not ready to deal with the reframe on this. But and I don't want to step over the pronoia versus paranoia. It's a good one. I'd like to circle back to that a little bit later. But I'm just going to look back at my notes so I don't lose track. Oh, we were talking about toxic positivity. Reach in even more, ladies, in terms of what is the purpose of a client in a given moment asserting their coach is engaged in toxic positivity. Now, think about it. This is within the context of not a shopping cart that tipped over in an aisle. This is, I hired you, Ron, to be my coach to help me ascend. Now I'm doing something and you're accusing me of something. What is going on there? And this is along the lines of what's the anatomy of what's happening. I mean, in one instance, we could go, it's her scam, right? I'd be like, yeah, it's a scam for sure. We know that. But like, what is being, with any of these scams, when a client is pushing back, what are they trying to do when the scammer, the demon itself, is pushing back? What's happening in that moment?
They're avoiding.
Yep, keep coming. They're avoiding. And I want to keep pulling those two things apart, though. There is a unity, and there's, maybe this, there's two ways to look at your scammer, your saboteur, your demons. Either one, they're voices that you need to grow out of. Your mom telling you don't cross the road doesn't mean don't cross the road at 40. It means be careful. That's right. So there's that. And then there's a part of us, the line of good and evil runs down the heart of every human. There's part of us that is just bent on destruction, and you've got to grow to overcome that, notice it, and choose the best within. But yeah, we know, Ellen, what was your contribution? What did you say?
The first one or the second?
The second.
They're avoiding.
They're avoiding it, right? So that there's some part of us that's avoiding. What might that person be avoiding in that moment?
I think that's like the exact thing that they usually accuse us of is like something underneath this, like, and they might be avoiding that specific thing, or like what's related to what you were talking about and why it is becoming toxic, positively toxic to this
Yeah,
situation.
I want keep Ellen and others keep it super simple. What is your client doing when they're pushing back on the coach that they paid good money to help them bring out their very best? What's going on? Keep it so simple.
Avoiding their growth.
Right. There's a responsibility that they're not taking in that moment. That's why I want you to keep it so simple. It's like, oh, of course, Ron, right? And I just want to read the way I wrote it here because I thought it was useful. Scamming is just a red flag that clients are not at their best. So we don't have to get worried about it. So, if you're coaching me and I'm like, listen, Georgette, I said da 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 da, you don't have to get this. It's like, oh, there's Ron, right? This is why we got to do our work as coaches, because Ron is a big, deep voiced man, or, oh, Georgette is an executive who's been around the block and done these things. And I can't say that to her. It's like whatever we make up that allows us to get back on our heels. Like, no, no, no. I'm the advocate for your best. What I'm seeing right here is not your best. And we've got to be able to stand powerfully in that. So let me just finish this thought. Scamming is just a red flag that tells us that clients are not at their best. Fearing change and seeing what you're up to, coach, despite the fact that they're paying you for it, can lead them to lash out and blame and take the heat off themselves, take the responsibility off of themselves. All right. Oh, Georgette, I got you muted. Throw that in.
So if you were coaching me and I was experiencing you have been, the toxic positivity,
Yeah.
as a client, my first reaction, if I'm thinking I'm your client, I'm thinking, you don't get it. You don't get, easy for you to say, right? Easy for you to say, you don't get who I am and what my problem is. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm putting the blame on you that you don't understand what my issue is, or you wouldn't be saying that. So
Right.
then what? So then you as the coach ask the question, like, what am I
Yeah.
hearing here? Am I hearing,
Well, here's the thing is there's a back and forth that is going on that isn't useful right now. And I would have to name that first. There's a way that you're positioning me as anything toxic. Excuse me. That is a huge accusation in a coaching, in an intimate relationship like this.
Mm.
There's nothing toxic going on here. If you think I'm actively working against you or messing with you, we got other stuff to talk about here. I'm going to plug my computer in. And so that would be the first thing I have to do.
Mm.
We have to reorder things. It's like that has been hit first. Georgette, do you actually think I'm working against you here?
Yeah.
I'm softening. You're like, no, I'm just sick of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, good. So first, I'm on your team.
Mhm.
Whether you think I missed the mark or not, or whether you're needing me to see you, I'm willing. But I need to know that we're on the same page. And no, Ron, I'm sorry. I get like that sometimes and I lashed out. I'm like, all right, we are going to return back to this because here's a guy who is 100% in your corner and you're turning me into the problem.
Mhm.
Where else does that show up? Where else does, and
Yeah.
as soon as I get you going like, oh crap, you're right, Ron. It's like, great, great. And then I can slow butt down and go, okay, what do you need, Georgette? And obviously I'm already hearing like, she needs to be witnessed more. She needs me to soften and slow down. Like, this is not a reframe situation. She needs to be with this and really be loved and witnessed in this space.
Mhm.
So, but you can see then how, all right, let me, Isaac, turn it back on you. And Elaine, I know you got to go, but let's, see if we can milk you for another 1 minute before you have to. What did I, in that little demo that Georgette and I just did, what did you see that I had to do to recreate that strong space so that we could deal with the actual scam rather than the one that's made up about the coach? And any of you can go in, not just Elaine. What did I have to do with Georgette right there? What was the anatomy of what I did that was good coaching?
Establishing first off, like the relationship of, reestablishing the relationship of like what you're here together for. And then just helping them get clear on like, okay, rather than, blaming, what's the real need here? What do you?
Yeah. Well, I named it.
Yeah.
Do you really think I'm doing this? We got to start there. Do you really think I'm working? Do you really think I'm toxic? I am being positive for sure. I'm wanting this for you.
Mhm.
You might not like the timing of it, right? So we're separating the concepts. You might like the timing of it, but do you really think I'm toxic or I'm being toxic? I might be missing your cues. I might be missing the fact that you're really hurting and I was not paying. And that could be a shortcoming. I'm so charged up and thought I could blow over the top of, your sadness and like help you reconnect to yourself strongly. And I might be missing the mark. Right. So we first lay it bare.
Mm.
And then once I got her on board and we're like, she's like, no, I get it. It's like, great. I want you to know this and that. Like, what else do we need in order to get on the same page and know that this is all about you and what, and then once that was there,
Mm.
what do you need in this space now?
Mm. Yeah, I like
The other
that.
thing is, we don't want to forget is I also said, we will be revisiting this, young lady. Because it's important what happened right there,
I think role modeling the repair, and I'll say especially as a man, is absolutely like, I definitely teared up, and I know you guys are just like making this whole thing up because a lot of people don't get to see any repairs. They never saw their mom and dad repair. They don't see coworkers repair. They don't see their boss repair. And the like step by step how to repair is, I find, critical for any relationship. So I'm doing that every day, all the time. Repair, repair. Did I hurt you? What was up? Like that was a 10 beautiful repair that you just did in a mock
Thank
situation.
you.
And that might have actually been what she needed more than the whole coaching situation. How do we repair?
I just
And
got to
what does a
chill.
repair feel like? Because I felt that in my whole body when you did that. Like some people don't even know what it feels like to have somebody repair to them. Like I might have been missing the mark. I wanted to move ahead, but I came back. What is here for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, this is my intention. This is who we are together, right? Husband and wife or whatever. Um, what do you need? What do you need? And meanwhile, I didn't make myself small. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't like, I got to come back with something clever. So that it's like, no, there's no clever here. There's two people for the benefit of one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well said, Susan. Yeah. That's a really, really great point. Like that could be the thing she needed out of the whole 2 years long of coaching was to finally lash out at the coach, the one that's faithful and been there. In fact, it's funny when I brought up in the beginning of our conversation about certain things to design with a client. I want to make sure I tell the story properly. It's very, very quick. I remember the guy had an Audi TT, and it was because the first time I knew somebody who had one of those, and we met in person. And that was the last time we just met in person. We coached over the phone after that. It was a while ago. His name just popped in my mind too. It's probably been like 15 or 18 years. Oh, that's right. It was probably one of the first times I ever added in my discovery session how might you undermine the relationship. And it showed up. He started blaming me. And I said, dude, you're actually doing the thing you told me. And it was sort of like a Ron and Georgette moment here where he went, oh my gosh. And the whole focus of our coaching for the next X months became about him working through this pattern. And, if it was me and Georgette, then it would be, oh my God, I'm making it up if it was the same scenario. That's what I do to people. I take good people in my life and I blame them. It's like, yeah, it's easy to do, right? They're going to take it, but at some point, you're going to lose something. You're going to lose the heart. You're going to lose the invite. You're going to lose the gentle touch. You're going to keep yourself safe, but safe from what? This is a good example too of how we as coaches are not neutral and we've got perspectives and we have wisdom, not necessarily more than I have more than Georgette, but I might have access to it more than she does in this moment, just so she can go, oh, you're right. And then I'm going to name that moment. Okay, what's going on right there? I don't want that. What do you want? I want to be intimate with people and I don't want to blame them. Okay, what do you want? I want to be able to assert, but I also want blah, blah, blah. Like get her clear, 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 clear. Great. Then connect her to it consciously. What do you know? What are you feeling? What's here now? Yeah, this woman can do 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. So what's one thing you'll do this week or two things you'll do this week to bring this to life, to enact it, to instantiate it, to make it real, that we're not just talking about it. She's going to go. And parenthetically or not so parenthetically, this is why I don't just do one-off coaching. This is why I do call me, text me in between sessions, because I want her to text me in an hour and say, I just talked to my brother and I told him no. And I told him I loved him. And he said, okay, that makes sense. And I'm still going to his house on Memorial Day. Like, that was not so hard. Like, holy cow, you did it. What's here now, right? Connect, connect, connect. Help her see it. Now she's building. That woman now is going to go to the grocery store and have a different interaction with somebody. So yeah, but it's a great point, Susan, you bring up is like that could have been what turns out, but turns out all the coaching was really about is this big healing. So that's why this is why to me the scammer, the saboteur, the demon conversation is so important because we get our own feelings hurt. We don't know what to do. We then back off and then we allow the scam, the lie to win. And then that gets embedded into the coaching. We build on what ultimately is shifting sand. Uh-oh. So, all right, tag. Floor is open.
Yeah, I gotta go, but there were so many good things as always. So thank you for that. I actually retain, like, I really liked when you said dealing with what's here instead of, okay, I'm not there yet, right? Like when you're in a situation like this, like just recognizing that the client might be so focused on where they want to go, then they're not dealing with the issues of right now, and the fact that they're taking the responsibility of themselves. They're not taking ownership from their action or from whatever is happening. I think that like this is happening a lot more than we want to believe, like in a lot of situations. And that's kind of like our role to, I mean, they pay us for us not to be complacent, right?
Yeah.
So like it's really essential. But yeah, otherwise I joined Suzanne on what she said. Like it was really beautiful the way you said that.
Great, great. And I know you've got to go. But
Thank you
one of
so
the things
much,
I'll
everyone.
talk about,
Yeah,
my job as a coach is I'm a friend, a this, a that, prophet, and a paid pain in the butt, because sometimes you got to be a pain in the butt to people, and that's just the way it is. And so, yeah,
it's a good reminder that like it's okay to be a pain in the butt, even though they're paying us. Like that's what they pay us for, is to like really tell the hard truths, right?
absolutely. Otherwise, we're underwriting, we're subsidizing their mediocrity, and that won't fly. So well said.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Len. Thanks for coming.
Thank
All
you.
right, everybody else. Tell me what else. What did you see? What do you now know?
Um, what the way that you did that or talked about that after I said what was going on in my head, it's amazing how quickly that all disappeared. The concerns, let's say if I were the client and like, yeah, you don't really understand me, you're not this. And as soon as you reminded me of what we're doing, what you're doing, what we are working on together, that feeling just totally went away. Yeah, I mean, it really did for me. And I don't know how, but it really does shift everything to me. It did shift everything for me. And I think that it wouldn't be just me feeling that. If I
Well,
were
no, and I think it's beautiful that Susan obviously was moved by it. Ellen mentioned it.
Yeah.
Kara was so moved she had to go off camera for a little while. No, I mean it was obvious. It was palpable, and yeah, for I think everybody on the call at some level. And so that just says something about your authenticity and role playing it. And, I think the power of coaching on my side is just faithfully being a coach and taking a stand on the other side. So, and if we're going to keep it, because the conversation could go in 100 directions right now, but if we keep it really about our clients' scams, and we can hold it in the space of it's just them not at their best. It's just them trying to float something by to see if they can get away with it. Something worked when they were 4 or 9 or 37. But we're saying, yeah, it may have worked in the short term, quote unquote, worked, but you're going to pay interest on a lie. You're going to pay interest, the principal and the interest on something that isn't you at your best. We can't, that's not a sustainable way of living, and then I'm just going to grab Susan's nodding and as if I was talking to you directly and only. And then it's like, okay, once you see that they're with you, it's like, great. So what is happening? What is clear to you or whatever? And then let them lock it in themselves. Let them own it. Well, I see that I've done this and I shouldn't feel bad because, I don't need feel bad. I just need feel bad enough to get it, feel bad enough to do something different, right? Just as a little bit of motivation. After that, it's not very helpful. And then once she goes, you know what? This is what I'm going to do going forward, or this is how I'm going to integrate it. That's outstanding. Off you go. But you got to be willing to say the weird, the awkward thing, the thing that nobody else will. I remember talking to somebody once who, I'm not gay. I'm just not a gay guy. But the guy I was talking to was gay. And I wouldn't say a crush on him, but it was a guy who like, I just really thought was just awesome. And he said, I forgot what we were talking about, but he was a coach and, all this stuff. And I was wanting something from him. And I, I, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something like I wanted his approval or I wanted him to like something I was doing, something like that. I just know, and that's all I can really remember. And he said, and even right now, I sort of marvel at, imagine having the nerve to say this. He goes, I feel like it's almost like you have a crush on me or something, Ron. And like I said, I'm not gay. And it's like for him to say that to somebody who is not of his sexual orientation, how much more powerful to do that? That's like me saying that to a married woman, right? Or a gay guy who's in a committed relationship. I mean, that might be a little bit less. So, but there's something still. I was married and I'm not gay. Like that takes incredible courage. And we were able to pull it apart. It's like it's not like I have a crush on you, but I am wanting, I'm gonna do it to the best of my memory. I am wanting your approval, or I'm wanting you to think I'm as cool as you are, or whatever. And then we can actually work with the real issue. What a gift.
Mm, yeah.
What a gift. Because he was willing to say the weird, the awkward thing to a guy who was acting weird and awkward. you know? But we're two people for the benefit of one. That's why this glory occurred.
Mm.
What's happening over there?
Me just kind of reminding myself of it's I mean it's the biggest thing that I've been, trying to grow in as a coach from the get-go is just not being complacent, being willing to say the thing, being willing to get them a little upset with me sometimes. Which is, that's an area that I struggle in is I'm so loving and nurturing and I'll push you, but maybe not always enough. So
Mm.
an area that I've been continuously working on growing in myself.
Mm.
Yeah. Good. Keep flexing that muscle. It's amazing how, I've told this story before, but I remember the first time there was a guy who was like 70 and I was maybe 27 or 28. And I remember thinking, no, it was 27 because it was, um, and his name just came to me too. It's crazy. 70-year-old guy, maybe a little older. And I'm thinking, there's no way this guy does not even love his wife. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, how do you say that to somebody? And I had somebody encourage me to do it. I said it, I ripped off the Band-Aid, and he goes, no, I don't. And it was just like, oh my gosh. But to the point that you're noticing, Carrot's like, I did the weird thing. I said the thing that like is sort of another forbidden thing. And how much stronger as a coach I became after that.
Mm.
Because it's like, oh, how many other things are easier to say than that to a 70-year-old guy who's 3 times my age and married for 50 years. And I said that, yeah. There's a lot of other things that are much easier than that. So if I was coaching or mentoring you, each of you, I'd say, all right, what's one thing? Although you don't need to say that at who knows if you'll be in a relationship where that'll be appropriate over the next week or month until we're all back here. But I certainly would encourage you to look for opportunities where it is appropriate to say the thing, where you've got permission in a relationship. But
Mhm.
I like that wry smile over there, Georgette.
Oh no, I'm I'm just thinking like my own self-discovery since I've been coaching is, oh, I guess I'm really a people pleaser. Okay. And what does that bring me? Well, I want people to like me. I'm kind of coming it down. And so therefore, when it's time for me to be really challenging, I back off, you know, I'm afraid that this is not gonna land right, and I don't have the, you know, I lack the courage to do it. Or if I do it in a very soft way. Um, and that's not as effective, obviously. I have experimented with that a couple of times and found, okay, it's not, you know, it's not as bad as I thought it would be as far as the reaction, but like I know I don't do it enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great noticing. You know, one of the things you can do is even just say it, you know, hey, Ron, I got something I feel like I need to tell you, but I'm a people pleaser and I just want you to like me. And this is going to be hard, but, and guess what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, and that's it. That's it. You just drive.
Yeah.
My philosophy in life is, to the best of my ability, do the next right thing. Do right now. And the next right thing I would assert in that coaching relationship is just say what you know, like go as far as you can go, and then you'll see or know or, you know, be able to do further. Name it. And then if I'm on the same page with you, which I should be because you're pulling for me, I'm gonna go, oh my gosh, please say it. Well, Ron, I don't think that's being faithful to your wife when you
Mm.
talk to me about you saw three pretty girls, you know, on the subway. It's like it feels a little bit like what I'm like, oh no, I don't mind that they're pretty, but like, and I'm just thinking, you know,
Mm.
it's something here. I don't think that would be not being faithful, but you know, I did a double take. He's like, okay, well, you're doing double takes. Is that how you really want to be as a man? And then I'm like, oh, and if I'm again a sensitive individual who knows that you're with me, I'm gonna go either. I used to say to a coach I had, "F you, thank you," because she would hit me with some things that I didn't like sometimes. Oh yeah, it would be the full word, "Thank you," and so there could be a little bit of that come up, like, "Oh shoot, right? That's the next evolution of being faithful as a husband: is don't do a double take." Yeah, Ron, what's coming up there? And now you're going to help me flesh out, like, see the impact of that, how I want to be. Certainly, how my scams showed up. I deserve, I want. It's not a big deal. It's only this once, you know, whatever. So yeah, that's how your BS manifests around. Great. This is a fun call. I like this one. What else?
I think it's also like, speaking to Georgette, is like, I think it's a muscle, you know, that needs to get worked too. Sometimes just practicing these things, like when you said, you know, at 27, when you said that to the 70-year-old man, it was almost like you did your first push-up and realized your body's capable. You know, it was kind of like in the workout world, it's kind of like the muscle just keeps getting worked. It's like, whoa, I really can do this. I really can say brash things or whatever the muscle that, you know, you're building. My feedback is that people love that about me. And so as I work this muscle, it almost becomes my signature boldness. I mean, I have said some things that I can't even believe that were absolutely maybe not right. Because I'm so encouraged by my clients and by the people in my life, to continue to say these things out loud.
Great.
So
That's
people
great.
seek it. People actually seek it from me. They're like, oh, Susan's going to tell us. And in the circle, they're like, yeah, tell her what you said to me. Tell her what you said to me. And then I was like, you don't love him? What? What? Like, you know, I mean, not to someone I don't know or a client in that way, but
Of
like
course.
in friendship circles, people know that I'm going to say the thing. So they'll say like, tell her what your husband said. And I'm like,
This is awesome though, and I think about it in terms of marketing, you know, and how, I don't know if you've got a site or what you do with it, but boy, I can certainly see, you know, most coaches, and you could do some version of what we just talked about, you know, are going to avoid the hard truth. They're going to avoid the weird thing. They're going to avoid, you might not want to say weird because there's an implication about this prospect who's going to be looking at it, but you know, most coaches, they do that. They come short of this because they're afraid of 1, 2, 3 ABC. My job is to love you enough to say the thing, maintain the space that you can grow the whatever. It's like, I mean, I'd pay you money for that. Holy cow. You're going to say the thing? That's awesome. And then stay to help me clean up the mess.
Peace.
You're going to tip over my cart in the grocery store aisle and then help me pick it up. Got to get all those sugar smacks and frosted flakes out of there, Ron. Let's pick it up and put this stuff back. The rest of it is for somebody else.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I forgot something. What did y'all walk away with? One thing, one sentence. What will you now include in your coaching? Well, you do 2 sentences, but no more than that.
Don't be afraid to name it.
Sold. Susan, Georgette?
Just, I guess for me, in the general topic of scams is something that I try to relate to clients, because invariably the session is going to come down to saboteurs. No matter where it starts, it seems like we end up, we're talking about your saboteurs.
Well said.
And that we all have our thoughts and emotions, but don't be defined by them.
Amen.
So yeah, don't be defined by these, our inner critics.
I can't help it. I know it's a bottom line and you nailed it, but I can't help but expand just to say, this is what I tell people all the time. There's 3 things we do as coaches: get the client, get the agenda, connect them to themselves, and look back over at the agenda from there. But I tell people, the thing we're all doing, me included, is getting better at this part. Because what we're doing is, like you say, Georgette, is managing our scams and connecting clients to themselves. So just very well said. That is the work of coaching. So Susan.
Yeah, I think this was the green light again for me to just keep, digging deeper and saying things that may make people or myself uncomfortable, because I think a lot of times that's where the gems are.
Amen. Amen. All right. Sold. Now with that, we're going to call it a show and talk to y'all in a month. Coach Uncompromised.